We live in a world of examinations and tests. We're constantly being asked to judge everything, everything that exists around us. So it is really difficult to develop the concept of being non judgmental, for allowing whatever happens to ultimately happen. But I think it would be interesting to try it for a day in a way, because we all know, if we have any association with people, that we can change no one. The only person I can truly change is, of course, me. I can change me. So if I claim that I hold myself up to a higher standard, then I have to do that, don't I? And just maybe, if this is somewhat true and I do have a standard, then other people will watch me and they will perhaps try to emulate me. But there are no guarantees that that's true at all. And when we look at people, I think many times we unfortunately do judge, but we should not judge if at all possible, because we don't really know what goes on inside another person's brain, do we? I can touch you. I can feel the warmth of your body, as I often like to say, but I have really no idea what's going on inside you, your frustrations, your anxieties, your fears. And I think probably if we judged less and encouraged more, we would certainly be a lot further along the path. Small story, I teach a lot of people, and many times I'll ask for an opinion, and I will hear an opinion, and people often make grammatical or pronunciational mistakes in English, and I never correct people. Never. Not once. Why not? Because I think you will correct yourself over time. Certainly if there's a class of people, they will hear other people saying certain terms or using certain grammar in the correct way, and they will reference that, and that will change their way of speaking or their perception of how to act in a given conversation, and they quickly learn to teach themselves. So if you begin a class, what did you do last week? I go, I go, I go. Many people will say, and then someone will say, I went to. And then, aha, we're supposed to say, I went to Taipei, for instance. I didn't go to Taipei last weekend. So people are very clever this way. They are self-correcting. So if we aspire to not be judgmental, then people have the opportunity to really put their best foot forward. Now, of course, there are circumstances that people intentionally do evil and wrong things. You know, the one that really kind of troubles me is the telephone scam. My mother was subject to this. A man phoning her up, trying to get a donation, and eventually out of this poor old woman, he was able to pull thousands of dollars. And it was just fortunate that one of my brothers stopped it. And there was no religion involved with these people. It was just a story that they made up so they could trick elderly people. And I don't get people who do this. I really don't, because I understand stealing, I understand robbery, going to a bank with a gun, but these are really weak, helpless, old people for the most part, and they're exploited by thousands of individuals. I mean, it is a business in a certain sense of the word. So I think it's really painful. There's got to be horrible karma coming their way. There's no question. So in that sense, I think we do have to sometimes judge moral behavior, don't we? Because otherwise we would allow all behaviors to occur. And this is not correct, because there are things that are just not allowed, and we do judge in a society, of course. But other than that, we cannot be ongoing and judging people on trivial things. The way you look, the color of your hair, the pattern of your speech. These are very much individual things, and ultimately we must decide for ourselves. So if we aspire to not judge, then perhaps we can actually listen to the goodness of people. Now, certainly there are people that are below your station in life. They might be poor, they might not have the education, but even so, they have things to say, right? But if we say to ourselves that these people are worthless, there's nothing I can receive from them, then that bit of something special, if you will never be told. Never, because they will be too afraid. And this is part of the problem, to digress for a moment, with education in general, is that many times in a classroom of 30 children, the teachers, of course, want to deal with the top kids, the top echelon, because they're the ones that produce the best, and they're the least problematic. But at the bottom, they cause the most problems, and they don't give anything back to the overall status of the class. If the educational system is orientated in that way, and it is in North America. This is not true, I've read, in Finland. In Finland, the teachers spend very little time on the excellent students, and the majority of time on the students that are struggling. And this is why there's a higher standard of education in general in Finland. And this is why perhaps Finland continues to be one of the top ranked countries for happiness in the world. So I guess we should say to ourselves to be a little bit like the archetype of Jesus. Don't judge too easily, and when we have to judge, at least have some logic behind it. And then, just then, the world will slowly but surely become a better place, because, gosh, we've judged a lot. We've judged other countries, we've judged other races, and the net result has not been positive for sure. So, try not to judge. Try to listen more, judge less. And you know what they say. You know what they say. Critical thinking is everything, especially when it teaches us not to judge and be so judgmental. And critical thinking is great, truly great. You take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. Dave here. Today is July 22nd. It is the 31st day of our El Camino journey. Today has been a little cooler than some of the previous days. Right now, it's about 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. And it's been a bit changed, the situation on our journey today compared to previously. Well, what do I mean by this change? there has been a lot more people. Suddenly, since we have gotten under 100 kilometers, people have come out of the woodwork. Some of these people may have come from alternative Camino paths. I've heard that the Primitivo meets up somewhere towards Santiago. But for many of the other walkers, they started at another spot. Leon and I, we started, as you know, back in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, right near the border of France and Spain, and we crossed over the Pyrenees. However, it's become trendy for people to start their pilgrimage 100 kilometers to Santiago, and by doing this, you can still get a Compostela. Now, for people who've been walking the whole route, it's easy to start to get a bit smug. It's easy to say, well, why do they get a Compostela the same as I do if they've walked for 100 kilometers, I've walked for 800 kilometers? Maybe they sent their bags ahead or they just carried a small day pack. And for me or Leon, we had to prepare lots of clothes and things since we were traveling a longer distance. It really starts to make a person become a bit arrogant, smug, and judgmental. But I'm here to say I think some of this, a lot of this, is not really appropriate. That for a lot of these people, they might not have the time to take 6 weeks off to do the pilgrimage. There's going to be younger children who aren't physically able, as well as older people, people of poor health, and the list goes on. And I firmly believe that if somebody is doing a pilgrimage for spiritual, religious reasons, it should be accessible to everyone. That said, I also believe you need to stick and stay true to yourself. So do not judge the other people. We don't know their situations, and we don't know their motivations. However, we do know our motivations. For me personally, and I believe Leon is probably in the same boat as myself, we decided we have to walk from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago carrying our bags. We want to suffer. We want to feel some of this pain and to overcome it and to break our bodies down and then to become stronger. This is part of the journey for us. So, if we started taking taxis to make up some of the time we lost, or something like that, then we would not be staying true to ourselves. And I feel I could judge myself on this and say, that's wrong. This isn't okay. But that's for me. I'm judging what I do. I need to hold myself up and maintain the standard I set for myself. But once again, we shouldn't be judging other people of whose stories that we don't know. We don't know their situations, we don't know their stories or their motivations. So hold yourself up to a high standard, but don't fall into the trap or the mistake of believing that everyone's standard has to be on your level, because you don't know what their standard is and why they set it at that level. You don't know their situation. Now on to Leon.
Well, to David's point, I think that the problem here is really not other people. It's always it's always me. What is my standard? And it is very easy, as David pointed out, to look down at people that are not really carrying their bags, apparently, or the distance is only 100 kilometers at best, etc., and they're not really putting in an effort on the El Camino. But I think the truth be told, that the only person in life I can really judge is me. And this is why it is important that my standard be high. I think the problem results many times in life is that we don't have high standards for ourselves, ultimately, and then we begin to judge other people as well. So it is true that you should be only judging yourself. And I think, in the Bible, in Luke, there was apparently the Pharisees had brought an adulterous woman to Jesus, and you wanted Jesus to judge this woman. And Jesus, now whether you're religious or not, the parable is very interesting. And Jesus said, please, the person who is without sin, he can throw the first stone. I guess they were going to stone this poor woman to death as such. And no one had the gumption to be able to say, my life is without sin. I'm innocent. And so as we walk the El Camino, this is a bit of reflection as well, because obviously my life is filled with sin to a certain extent. I think all lives have complications. We've done things we're not proud of, etc. But as we walk along, we obviously we're not fools. We do look at people and we can analyze the situation. But once again, that natural temptation to judge must be done away with. The only person I can judge is me. And this is why I think people like Aristotle say, always do your best. Always excellence. Why not? And then you have no embarrassment associated with your life whatsoever. So back to Dave, quickly.
Yes. So those are some very interesting points that Leon raised. And just remember, when you are working on whatever it may be, your work for school, your job, your hobbyist projects, don't worry about what the other people are doing. Focus on yourself and your standard. You set the standard that you want. Set a high standard that makes you proud. Take pride in what you do. Maintain your standard and judge just yourself, not those around you.
And I think in closing, it's important to also identify, don't listen to what other people say of your efforts either. If you truly believe that you are doing the best and the society judges your efforts to not be the best, let's say, for instance, in a test, you failed the test when you've tried your absolute best, then it is a systems problem. You can then go back to your books or whatever it is and analyze where you've gone wrong. So always do your best, and then there is no one to judge you but you. So you take care. You have a good evening. This is reporting from Spain, where, as David said, it is remarkably cold for July. So you take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.